Remember JB, John the Baptist? He was still around doing his thing after Jesus had started his ministry, and some of his followers asked Jesus why his followers didn't fast. Jesus responded with 3 different examples in Matthew 9:15 through 17. Pause this and read through those now. Remember, Matthew's intended audience when writing this and Jesus' audience when saying these things were the first century Jews. Our 4th question of our 6 Bible study questions is about the cultural context. So you have to ask yourself what these examples meant to those first century Jews. The first example is fasting during a wedding. This kind of seems obvious, but a wedding is not a time for sadness. It's a time of celebration and feasting rather than fasting. But Jesus does foreshadow a bit by saying that there will be a time for fasting when the groom is no longer with them. The groom in this example is Jesus. The next one about new and old cloth takes a little bit more digging. Comment your thoughts based on what you find. This may be lost on a Western culture, but fabric has a tendency to shrink over time, especially the fabric used in the first century. So, you would use the same aged garment and cloth to patch a hole to preserve the longevity of that garment. This is another reference to the idea of timing. If you exert effort into an unneeded practice, then it makes that practice much more difficult and unnatural when it's actually needed. Not to mention, you probably wasted your time and effort at the wrong time and probably missed the point. Last example definitely takes some time digging into the first century understanding. Wine and wineskins. Go. Wineskins were made from animal skins. They were formed into a bladder. They acted much like modern day barrels do, where the fermentation would take place in the wineskin. Once that happened, the skin would become hard and brittle and couldn't be reused. So what does this have to do with fasting? Once again, there is a time and a place. Don't force the fasting when it's not necessary. You don't need it now, so when you do need it, it will be more effective and meaningful. What does this reveal to us about God? He definitely understands that just because something is good doesn't mean it is necessarily good for right now or for any time and always. There's a time to celebrate and a time to contemplate. So what does this mean for you? Read the room. Don't party at a funeral. Don't weep at a wedding. Even though Jesus is talking about his physical, tangible presence as the reason for not fasting, there are still times of celebration in God's presence and times of focus in prayer and interceding. Learn those times more by studying the Bible and watching and learning from other people who love and follow Jesus. Share this if you found this interesting and want someone else to see it. Subscribe to keep up with all the shorts and full episodes.